Hello everyone, welcome to Global Government News. Today is August 5th, 2010, and I'm Darko. I'll be covering eugenics in this video, and this first article up is from the Mail Online. And this is also from August 5th, 2010. It's titled, Gender-Bending Chemical in Food Tins May Cut Male Fertility. A, quote, gender-bending chemical in food and drinks containers could be behind rising male infertility, scientists say. Men with high levels of BPA in their bodies are more likely to have lower sperm counts, according to a study. BPA is widely used to harden plastics and is found in baby bottles, CD cases, plastic knives, and forks, and the lining of food and drink cans. The chemical mimics the female sex hormone estrogen, I think that's a typo, and interferes with the way hormones are processed by the body. Although some animal studies have shown it as safe, others have linked it to breast cancer, liver damage, obesity, diabetes, and fertility problems. Experts estimate BPA is detectable in more than 90% of people. It is one of the world's most widely manufactured chemicals, with more than 2.2 million tons made each year. And it only took them, what, 50 years or so to get rid of it? Much like fluoride, they're starting to finally talk about removing it. And it's kind of weird because now you have the establishment, bringing this up. And, I mean, look who's bringing it, the Mail Online. And the UN's calling, for fluoride to be taken out of developed countries. So it's, to me, it's kind of a good sign because it means that, yes, people are, quote, becoming more aware or awake, I guess you'd call it, of these things. But at the same time, it's kind of it kind of makes me wonder. It's like, why are they doing this? Are they just realizing that there's just too many people that are becoming aware of all of these things that contribute to eugenics, and so they better scale back their plans and just try again for the next generation, next 10 years, 20 years? I don't know. But it says scientists have now discovered it could be lined to poor sperm quality and concentration. Says Professor John Meeker, who led the study at the University of Michigan in the U.S., said much of the focus for BPA is on the exposure in utero, in the womb, or in early life, which is of course extremely important, but this suggests exposure may also be a concern for adults. Said in one of the first human studies, Professor Meeker and co-author Russ Hauser from the Harvard School of Public Health recruited 190 men through a fertility clinic. And it says the researchers compared levels of BPA in urine samples with men's sperm quality and concentration. They looked for signs of DNA damage in their sperm. Men with the highest levels of BPA had sperm concentrations 23% lower than those with the least. The result also suggests a 10% increase in sperm DNA damage. So this is stuff, I mean, when we talk about eugenics and people laugh and giggle about it, it's not really all that funny. Because not only do they have all types of warfare, economic warfare, religious warfare, political warfare, they also have genetic warfare, and that's part of the eugenics. They're damaging your DNA, dude. So, yeah, if you don't care about your life, how about your children's or the next generations who's got to live with, increased rates in autism and diabetes and all the other stuff? And probably the most important, to be able to reproduce. But see, the elites understand this. Yeah, they can carry out, soft type eugenics, which is more passive. You voluntarily accept it through your food and water. But then there's the fail-safe, which is you don't have any more kids because you're too sterile because of whatever, vaccines, BPA, fluoride in the water, whatever it is that's causing it. But it's funny because I found this article on prisonplanet.com today, and it's titled Rockefeller Foundation Developed Vaccines for Mass-Scale Fertility Reduction. Not a big Alex Jones fans anymore, but they do have some good writers on there, and they do cover a lot of information, and they cite their stuff. So, yes, he's a fearmonger, but this individual, he's been writing for them independently for a while now, and I believe he's a good writer. And it says in its 1968 yearly report, the Rockefeller Foundation acknowledged funding the development of the so-called, quote, anti-fertility vaccines and their implementation on a mass scale. From page 51 onward, we read, quote, several types of drugs are known to diminish male fertility, but those that have been tested have serious problems of toxicity. Very little work is in progress on immunological methods such as vaccines to reduce fertility, and much more research is required if a solution is to be found here, end quote. The possibility of using vaccines to reduce male fertility was something that needed to be investigated further, according to the Rockefeller Foundation, because both the oral pill and the IUD were not suitable for mass-scale distribution. Quote, we are faced with the danger that within a few years, these two modern methods for which such high hopes have been held will in fact turn out to be impractical on a mass scale. So they are social engineers and they are experimenting on us. Just want to make that clear. You know, nothing's really set in stone. When they're modifying the weather and all around the world, I mean, there's not 100% certainty in what they're doing is going to have a side effect. You know, and in China they have floods over there, and they've had oil spills, and now they have toxic barrels flowing down the river towards Russia, and I believe that's because of them cloud seeding. And I'm not just making this up or anything. I've read about it in the little white paper document about them cloud seeding, and there's possibilities that there would be blowback, I guess you can call it, and they planned for that. So it says a semi-permanent or renewable subcutaneous implant of these hormones have been suggested, but whether or not the same difficulties would result has not been determined, saying that research thus far has been too low grade to produce any substantial results. The report was adamant. And so there you go. It says there is an estimated 5 million women among America's poverty and near poverty groups who need birth control services. That's Planned Parenthood, basically. The unchecked fertility of the indigent does much to perpetuate poverty, undereducation, underemployment, not only in urban slums, but also in depressed rural areas. And he said the foundation's efforts began to have an effect in 1988. There was a Foundation Population Division's report, and it says on anti-fertility vaccines, quote, India's National Institute of Immunology successfully completed in 1988 the first phase of trials with 3 versions of an anti-fertility vaccine for women, sponsored by the government of India and supported by the foundation. The trials established that with each of these tested vaccines, at least 1 year of protection against pregnancy could be expected based on the levels of antibodies formed in response to the immunization schedule. And finishing up, in its 1997 review of anti-fertility vaccines, Indian-based International Center for Genetic Engineering and Biotechnology did not forget to acknowledge its main benefactor. Quote, the work on LHRH and HCG vaccines was supported by research grants of the Rockefeller Foundation. And it links to this article from the flucase.com. This is Jane Burgemeister's website. I'll post the link for this. And posted today by the Time Magazine, Time CNN, UN, new taxes needed for climate fund, carbon taxes, add-ons to international airfares, and a levy on cross-border money movements are among ways being considered by the panel on the world's leading economists to raise a staggering $100 billion a year to fight climate change. And a quick point to be made, yes, you have the heat and the fires going on in Russia, and then you have the floods going on in Pakistan and China. So before everybody scampers and runs back to the old global warming, climate change fear-mongering, just remember we had El Nino this year, and the NOAA says that it will have a significant influence on the global weather and climate in the next coming. El Nino is an abnormal warming of the waters in the equatorial Pacific that causes havoc in global weather patterns, especially around Asia Pacific. Says the weather anomaly has been linked to weak monsoons. Says El Nino was first noticed by Latin America and Anchovy fishermen in the 19th century, causing droughts in places like Indonesia and Australia, where spawning floods in Ecuador and Bolivia. You see, it's a redistribution of moisture. So that's why you have floods in one place, like Russia and that, and then you'll have droughts in other places. I'm not claiming to be a scientist. I'm just saying that this tax is bullshit. If you can blame all humans for all natural disasters, you can declare war on the human. Thank you.